This is a Squiz Kids podcast. Your fresh take on what's happening in the world around you.
Each fortnight, we give the world globe a spin and see where we land. Then we take the kids of Australia on an audio excursion to visit that country and its people. I'm Christie Kijurina. And today on Squiz the World, we're visiting a country where chewing gum is banned. The day is 12 hours long all year round, and people walk faster than almost anywhere else in the world. Can you guess? Strap yourselves into the Squiz Kids Superfast Supersonic Jetliner as we take off and take a squiz at Singapore.
Just the facts.
Singapore is a tiny country with a huge personality. Found at the southern tip of the Malay Peninsula, it's made up of one main island and more than 60 smaller ones. At just 710 square kilometres, you could fit 10 Singapores inside of Tasmania. Wow! But Singapore has 10 times the number of people, with nearly 6 million calling it home. Being so close to the equator, just 140 kilometres away, Singapore is hot, humid and tropical all year round. Ouch! Temperatures stick to about 25 to 31 degrees Celsius and it rains a lot, especially during the monsoon season. It's like living in permanent summer, yay! But with a raincoat handy. Aww. While most of Singapore's rainforest has made way for buildings and homes, some of its incredible animals and plants are still around. You might spot long-tailed macaques swinging through trees, monitor lizards bathing by a pond, or playful otters splashing around. You might even, if you're lucky, catch sight of a slow loris, the world's only venomous primate. And it's super cute. Look it up. Aww. Singapore is also famous for its orchids, which are celebrated as a floral symbol of the nation. You'll find thousands of varieties of this beautiful flower on display in gardens across the city, showing just how special it is to Singaporeans. But it's not just the flora and fauna. The people of Singapore are pretty amazing too.
Let's get cultural.
Singapore is a giant cultural melting pot. About 3/4 of its people are Chinese, and there's a mix of Malays, Indians and Eurasians too. That's why Singapore has four official languages, being English, Mandarin, Malay and Tamil. This little island has been important for hundreds of years, thanks to its location between the Indian Ocean and the South China Sea. Way back in the 13th century, it was called Temasek, or Sea Town. Then, in the 14th century, a shipwrecked prince spotted what he thought was a lion on the island, so he named it Singapura, which means Lion City. During the 1800s, Singapore came under British colonial rule and became one of the world's most important ports. But life wasn't always smooth sailing. During World War II, it was occupied by Japan, and after the war, it briefly joined Malaysia before gaining independence in 1965. Today, Singapore is a shiny modern city that still celebrates its history in places like Chinatown, Little India, and Kampong Glam. It's a mix of old traditions and futuristic skyscrapers, a place where history and modern life come together. And if you've seen the 2018 movie Crazy Rich Asians, you'll know exactly what I mean. Now that we've learned a little bit about Singapore's diverse cultural landscape, it's
Time for school.
Going to school in Singapore is serious business. Kids start primary school at age 6 and it lasts for 6 years. Classes are taught in English, but students also learn a mother tongue, which could be Mandarin, Malay or Tamil, depending on their family background. At the end of primary school, students take a big test called the PSLE, Primary School Leaving Exam. It's a major milestone that helps decide where they go for secondary school. Schools also put a big focus on STEM subjects, science, technology, engineering and maths, and encourage kids to join robotics clubs, sports teams and art programs. And everyone wears brightly coloured uniforms with their school's badge. Plus, there are over 50 international schools in Singapore, where many Australian and New Zealand kids study. Why? Well, Singapore is a global hub for businesses, so lots of families from overseas, called expats, move there for work. So if you're going to school in Singapore, hello from us. And if you are living in Singapore, you'll know all about the rules and regulations. Let's find out more about them in
Believe It or Not.
So, Singapore is not just a bustling city, it's a place where rules and routines keep everything working like clockwork. Did you know that Singaporeans are some of the fastest walkers in the world? On average, they walk at over 4 kilometres per hour. And being on time is a big deal here, especially since the transport system runs to a super strict schedule. But here's a funny twist. If you're carrying a durian, a spiky fruit with a super stinky smell, you might get fined for taking it on the train. Durian is kind of a love it or hate it fruit that smells so intense. It is actually banned from public transport, along with chewing gum and smoking. Yep. You heard, chewing gum is illegal in Singapore, and in a bid to keep the streets squeaky clean. And when it comes to breaking the rules, the punishments can be harsh. Vandalism, for example, can result in caning, which is a very painful punishment where a long, thin stick is used to hit you on the bottom. Ow! Some say it's too harsh, but others credit these rules for making Singapore one of the safest and cleanest cities in the world. And here's another strict rule. All male citizens must serve 2 years in the Army, Navy or Air Force when they finish school. Whew, that is a lot of rules, but they help keep Singapore ticking like a well-oiled machine. Now, I think it's time to talk about something more pleasant. Is anyone hungry? I think it might be
Dinner time.
In Singapore, food is life. Sharing meals is a really big deal and families often sit down to eat together at home, especially for dinner. It's a time to catch up and enjoy dishes served family style, where everyone helps themselves from shared plates in the middle of the table. Dinner usually happens around 7 to 8 p.m, though some families might eat a bit later.
I'm hungry!
Eating out is just as important as eating in. Singaporeans love visiting hawker centres. They're open-air food courts filled with affordable and delicious meals from every culture. These are popular spots for dinner. They bring people from all walks of life together over amazing food.
Yum yum.
Thanks to its cultural diversity, Singapore's food is a mix of Chinese, Malay, Indian and Peranakan, Chinese-Malay fusion cuisines. The national dish of Singapore is Hainanese chicken rice, loved for its simple yet flavourful combination of poached chicken, seasoned rice and chilli ginger sauce. I've stuck a link to this delicious recipe in your episode notes. There's a bit of work in preparing it, but it's totally worth it. Whether you're sharing a meal at home or enjoying a feast at a hawker centre, eating in Singapore is all about connection, community, and incredible flavours.
Time for the Squiz.
This is the part of the podcast where you get to test how well you've been listening. Question number 1. What does Singapura or Singapore mean? Did you say City of Lions? Well done, you. Question number 2. What is the name of the stinky fruit that is banned on Singapore's public transport? That's right, it's called durian. Question number 3. What is Singapore's national flower? Did you remember? It's called the orchid. Well, that's all we have time for today. Thanks for staying curious about the world and joining me in this incredible trip to Singapore. Now get out there and have a most excellent day. Over and out.